Have you ever loved a movie franchise so much that you eagerly awaited every new installment, only to be hit with one that was so bafflingly bad, so completely off the mark, that it made you question everything? A film so misguided it almost brought a $1 billion empire crashing down. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of Hollywood's most notorious. We're talking about the behind-the-scenes chaos, the studio blunders, and the creative clashes that led to a cinematic disaster. Let's set the scene. Imagine a franchise at the absolute peak of its power. It's a cultural phenomenon. The box office numbers are staggering. The merchandise is flying off the shelves, and the fans are a dedicated, passionate army. The studio naturally sees a golden goose that can lay eggs forever. The pressure is on to deliver another massive hit, bigger and better than ever before. But this is where the first crack appears. Success can breed complacency, and in Hollywood, it can also breed a whole lot of executive meddling. The early stages of pre-production were already a warning sign. The original creative team, the very architects of the franchise's success, started to step away. Some cited creative differences, which is often Hollywood code for the studio, wants to do something really dumb and I don't want my name on it. New writers and a new director were brought in. People who, on paper, had respectable resumes, but crucially, didn't seem to understand the heart and soul of the franchise. They didn't get what made fans fall in love with these characters and this world in the first place. Instead of building on the rich lore and character development that came before, the new script felt like it was written by someone who had only read the Wikipedia summary. Beloved character arcs were thrown out the window, replaced with bizarre motivations that made no sense. The plot was a convoluted mess, introducing new elements that contradicted established canon, leaving long-time fans scratching their heads and yelling at the screen. It felt less like a natural continuation of the story and more like a desperate attempt to just do something different for the sake of being different. Then came the casting controversies. While the core cast returned, new characters were introduced that felt completely out of place. Reports from the set started to leak, painting a picture of a troubled production. Actors were reportedly rewriting their own dialogue on the fly because the official script was so unworkable. The director and the studio executives were constantly at odds, with the studio demanding more generic action sequences, while the director was trying to salvage some semblance of a coherent story. This tug-of-war resulted in a film that felt tonally bizarre, lurching awkwardly between serious drama and campy, forced humor. The visual effects, usually a hallmark of the franchise, were rushed. Key sequences were outsourced to multiple different effects houses with little oversight, leading to a noticeable drop in quality. Scenes that were supposed to be epic and awe-inspiring ended up looking unfinished, almost like a pre-visualization render made it into the final cut. The budget was huge, but you couldn't always see it on screen. It was a classic case of too many cooks in the kitchen, with everyone stirring a different ingredient into the pot, resulting in an inedible sludge. When the first trailer dropped, the fan base was cautiously optimistic, but there was an undercurrent of worry. The marketing tried its best to hide the film's flaws, focusing on explosive, out-of-context clips, but you can't hide a bad movie forever. When the review embargo lifted, it was a bloodbath. Critics who had championed the previous films were ruthless, calling it a soulless cash grab, a betrayal of the fans, and an incoherent mess. The critical score plummeted to a franchise, but the most important verdict comes from the audience. Opening weekend was decent, fueled by hype and brand loyalty. But then, the word of mouth spread like wildfire. The second weekend box office drop was catastrophic. It was one of the steepest declines for a major blockbuster in modern history. Fans felt let down, even angry. Online forums and social media were flooded with discussions dissecting every plot hole, every terrible line of dialogue, every character assassination. It wasn't just a bad movie. It was a film that actively disrespected its audience's intelligence and their investment in the series. The financial fallout was immense. While the film wasn't a total bomb, it grossly underperformed, failing to make back its massive production and marketing budget by a comfortable margin. More importantly, it damaged the brand. Merchandise sales stalled. Plans for the next two sequels were immediately put on indefinite hold. The studio, which had been planning a decade's worth of content, was now facing a dead end. The golden goose had laid a rotten egg, and the future of the entire billion-dollar universe was in serious jeopardy. So, how does a franchise recover from a near-death experience like this? It's a long, hard road. In this case, the studio had to do some serious soul searching. They publicly acknowledged the missteps, a rare move in the prideful world of Hollywood. They understood that to win back the fans, they couldn't just ignore the disaster and move on. They needed to prove they had learned their lesson. The solution came in the form of a back-to-basics approach. They brought back key members of the original creative team and empowered them with the creative freedom that had been stripped away. They essentially performed a soft reboot, creating a new film that cleverly sidestepped the events of the disastrous installment, treating it almost as a strange and uncanny nightmare. They focused once again on what made the series great in the first place: compelling characters, a well-crafted story, and a deep respect for the world and its fans. It was a huge gamble, but it paid off. When the next film was released, audiences returned, albeit cautiously at first. But this Chimi, the film delivered. It was a return to form that not only saved the franchise, but in some ways made it stronger by reminding everyone, especially the studio, to never again take the fan base for granted. It stands as a powerful cautionary tale in Hollywood. You can have all the money and marketing in the world, but if you lose the heart of your story, you lose everything. What do you think? Have you ever felt personally betrayed by a movie in your favorite series? Let me know which film you think almost ruined a great franchise in the comments below. I'd love to read your stories. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood history, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss another video. See you in the next one.